1. You will hear a detailed accommodation and services enquiry. But first, you have some time to read the questions from 1 to 10.
Good morning, London International Student Services and Homestay Network. This is Mrs. Eleanor Higgins speaking. How may I help you today?
Good morning. My name is Haruto Sato. I'm calling from Nagoya, Japan. I've recently been accepted into an intensive advanced business English program at the Regent Institute in central London, starting next month. I'm calling to finalize my accommodation arrangements because I'm having trouble filling out the online registration portal.
I'd be more than happy to guide you through it, Haruto. Let me open a fresh application file on my system. First, let me double-check the spelling of your details. Your surname is Sato, that's S-A-T-O, correct? And your first name is H-A-R-U-T-O?
Yes, that is correct.
Splendid. Now, regarding your arrival date, our records show most autumn semester students land around the first week of September. What are your specific travel itineraries?
Well, my academic course officially commences on September 18th. Initially, I intended to arrive on the 10th to give myself a week to adjust to the time difference. However, due to flight availability and higher weekend airfares, I had to rebook my departure. I will now be landing at Heathrow on September 13th.
Understood, arriving on the 13th gives you plenty of time. Now, what about the duration of your stay? The standard contract is for 4 weeks, but many international scholars opt for an extended 8-week period.
Originally, when I filled out the preliminary interest form, I marked 4 weeks because I thought I might move into a shared apartment with some classmates later. But after looking at London rental prices, I realized that isn't feasible. So I would like to lock in the homestay for 6 weeks in total.
Excellent choice. 6 weeks provides stability. Now let's discuss dietary requirements and household preferences. Do you have any strict restrictions?
Well, I don't follow any religious dietary laws, but I am quite particular about breakfast. Back home, I eat light meals. I don't eat cooked pork or heavy fried foods in the morning. I strictly prefer a vegetarian breakfast, just toast, fruit, and tea or juice. Dinner can be conventional, although I dislike seafood intensely.
Noted. Vegetarian morning meals and no seafood. What about living with domestic animals?
I actually adore dogs. My family has a golden retriever back in Japan. However, I have a severe medical condition regarding cats. If I am exposed to cat dander or fur, I suffer from acute asthma attacks and skin rash. So a cat-free environment is mandatory.
I am making a bold note of that. Absolute cat allergy. Now, regarding location. Our network categorizes housing by transport zones. Zone 1 is in the city center, but it's exceptionally pricey. Zone 2 costs around £260 per week. Zone 3 is £210 per week, which takes about 35 minutes by tube.
£260 is a bit beyond my budget. Zone 3 sounds manageable, provided the commute isn't too complicated.
Zone 3 it is. However, please be aware that while standard internet and water are covered, autumn stays incur a small seasonal heating surcharge. The base rent is £210, but with the utility supplement of £15, your weekly total comes to £225.
That seems fair enough. How do I secure the placement?
You must settle an advance holding deposit of £100. Normally, we require this 2 weeks before arrival, which would be the 30th of August. But because of peak season processing, the absolute deadline for your batch is August 20th. You can pay via our online secure link using a credit card.
This was the end of the part 1. Now you have some time to check your answers. Section 2, Advanced UK Visa and Immigration, Briefing. But before that, you have some time to read the questions from 11 to 15. Read carefully.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May I have your attention, please? My name is David Miller, Senior Consular Advisor here at the UK Application Centre. Today's briefing is designed to walk you through the precise legal criteria for obtaining your Tier 4 student visa. I must emphasise that UK Visas and Immigration UKVI has implemented far stricter verification protocols this year. A minor clerical error or mismatched documentation will result in immediate refusal without a refund. Let's address documentation first. Your primary identification must be your current official passport. Ensure that it has a minimum validity of 6 months remaining beyond your intended period of stay. Furthermore, visa stamps require empty space. While older regulations required only a single page, current statutory rules mandate that your passport must contain at least 2 completely blank pages facing each other. Next, let's examine the Confirmation of Acceptance for Studies, or CAS. Many applicants confuse the CAS with their university offer letter. They are not the same. An offer letter is merely an academic approval. The CAS is a unique 14-digit reference number generated by your university directly on the UK government's portal. Without this specific digital number entered into Section B of your visa application, your submission is legally void. Now, let's move to financial proof, the single most frequent point of failure for international students. You are required to prove that you possess sufficient liquid funds to cover your full tuition fees for the first academic year, plus standard living allowances. Now, pay extremely close attention here. The required money cannot simply be deposited into your bank account a day before applying. The total funds must remain continuously in your account for a minimum unbroken period of 28 consecutive days. If your balance drops by even £1 below the required threshold on day 27, your application will be rejected. Additionally, the bank statement you present as evidence must be recent. It must be dated no more than 31 days prior to the date you officially submit your online application. Regarding healthcare, all long-term visa applicants are legally required to undergo screening for tuberculosis. Please note that medical certificates from your family, doctor, or local private hospitals are strictly unacceptable. You must obtain your health clearance exclusively from a UKVI-approved panel clinic. Alongside this, you will be charged the mandatory Immigration Health Surcharge, or IHS, at the time of application. This fee gives you full access to the UK's National Health Service, excluding dental and optical treatments. Finally, once your digital application is submitted, you must schedule an in-person appointment at our biometrics centre. You cannot delegate this to a travel agent or family member. During this appointment, officers will scan your fingerprints and capture a high-resolution digital facial photograph. Once processing is complete, standard applications take 15 working days. If you opt for the expedited priority channel, processing is compressed to 5 business days for an additional fee. Successful candidates will have a 90-day entry vignette affixed to their passport, allowing them to travel to the UK and collect their plastic biometric residence permit within 10 days of arrival.
This was the end of Section 2. Now you have some time to check your answers. Section 3. you will hear a conversation on academic research on consumer behavior. But before that, you have some time to read the questions from 21 to 30.
Good afternoon. Excuse me, sir. Madam, do you have a brief moment? My name is Alex Vance, and I'm a postgraduate researcher from the Department of Consumer Psychology at London Metropolitan University. We are currently conducting an empirical field study on how ecological awareness directly shapes daily purchasing habits among mature demographics. Would you mind answering a few structured questions?
Oh well. We were just heading towards the coffee shop to meet our daughter. But I suppose we can spare 10 minutes. I'm Eleanor, and this is my husband, Arthur.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eleanor and Arthur. Let's dive right in. When you conduct your routine grocery shopping, to what extent do environmental considerations dictate the products you place in your trolley?
Well, Alex, I must admit that for decades, price and brand familiarity were our only drivers. However, over the past 5 years or so, we've made a conscious effort to change. My primary grievance is product packaging. It appalls me to see fresh fruit and vegetables encased in double layers of non-recyclable tray plastic. I actively refuse to purchase produce packaged like that, even if it means going without that specific item.
That's a strong stance on plastic waste. Eleanor, do you share that sentiment when it comes to organic foods?
In principle, yes. I would love to buy 100% organic dairy and produce. However, we have to be practical. We live on a fixed retirement pension. While I admire organic farming, the retail markup is often exorbitant, sometimes 40 to 50% higher than standard items. If the price gap is reasonable, I will buy organic. But if it is extreme, cost inevitably overrides my environmental principles.
That is a classic dilemma identified in consumer research, the gap between intention and affordability. What about product provenance? Do you examine country of origin labels?
Constantly. We have a strict policy regarding food miles. Importing apples or asparagus via transatlantic air freight generates massive carbon emissions. We intentionally seek out UK-grown, locally harvested crops. It supports domestic farmers and slashes transportation pollution.
Though I must add, in the dead of winter, finding UK-grown produce becomes quite challenging, so we sometimes have to compromise on seasonal preserved goods.
Understood. Now, turning to logistics, how do you physically transport your shopping home?
A decade ago, like most people, we drove our private family vehicle to the supermarket every Saturday without a second thought. But 3 years ago, we decided to eliminate short vehicle trips entirely. Now, for major weekly runs, we utilize the local electrical transit bus network. And for small daily errands, we walk with heavy-duty canvas tote bags. We haven't bought a single disposable plastic bag in over 5 years.
Impressive shift in habits. One final question regarding corporate transparency. Major retail chains frequently advertise claims like 100% carbon neutral or environmentally friendly packaging. Do these statements influence your trust?
To be frank, I view most of it as pure corporate deception, what academia terms greenwashing. Companies spend millions on green branding while doing very little to change their industrial supply chains.
Precisely. Unless a product carries a recognized, independent third-party certification seal such as the Soil Association logo, we treat those promotional slogans as mere marketing hype and completely ignore them.
That is a remarkably sharp and perceptive approach. Thank you both immensely for your time and contribution to our university research.
This marks the end of Section 3. You now have a moment to check your answers. Section 4, University Lecture, Cognitive Psychology and Study Design. But before that, you have some time to read the questions from 31 to 40. Read carefully.
Good morning, students. Welcome to Module 4 of our Academic Skills series. Today, we are going to explore the cognitive science behind effective learning habits and how to construct a sustainable, high-yield study plan. Every year, thousands of undergraduate students experience severe academic burnout or unacceptably low GPA performance during their first year. When interviewed, the vast majority state that they spent 6 to 8 hours a day sitting at their desks. Yet, their exam results fail to reflect this massive expenditure of time. The reason for this mismatch is simple. Most students confuse passive time investment with active cognitive processing. Effective tertiary learning is not governed by the quantity of hours spent reading. It is determined by the strategic regulation of attention and memory consolidation. Let us first examine the biological mechanism of attention, specifically ultradian rhythms. Human mental focus does not operate like a machine that can run continuously at peak torque. Neurological studies prove that human concentration functions in cyclical waves known as ultradian rhythms. High-level cognitive focus can be sustained for roughly 90 minutes before the brain experiences a dramatic reduction in information processing efficiency and neurochemical depletion. Studying past this 90-minute mark without a mental break yields diminishing returns. You are essentially reading words without encoding them into long-term memory. Therefore, your daily schedule must prioritize work intensity over mere duration. We strongly advise aligning your most challenging analytical tasks, such as mathematical problem-solving, essay drafting, or reading complex research papers with your personal peak alertness window. For approximately 70% of the population, this window occurs during early morning hours. Conversely, low cognitive tasks such as filing electronic notes, checking emails, or organizing reference bibliographies should be relegated to late afternoon slump periods. Next, let us evaluate the physical environment. A significant number of students prefer studying in vibrant, high-stimulation environments like busy coffee shops or communal lounge spaces. From a neurological standpoint, this is highly counterproductive. Operating in an environment with unpredictable background speech, ambient movement, and acoustic noise forces your prefrontal cortex to work continuously to filter out irrelevant stimuli. This ongoing filtering process creates severe cognitive overload, leaving significantly less mental bandwidth for actual analytical comprehension. To maximize retention, you must establish a low-stimulation workspace strictly dedicated to academic work. Furthermore, digital distractions must be eliminated. Modern research demonstrates that merely having a smartphone on silent mode within eyesight reduces available working memory capacity. Deactivating non-essential digital notifications can increase material retention rates by up to 35%. Now, let us turn to revision methodologies. The two most common techniques used by undergraduates are passive rereading of lecture slides and highlighting textbook pages with neon markers. Statistically, cognitive psychologists categorize these as the least effective study habits in existence. Highlighting creates an illusion of competence. You feel as though you are learning because the page looks familiar, but your brain is merely engaging in passive recognition rather than structural encoding. To achieve genuine mastery, you must replace passive habits with active recall and spaced repetition. Active recall forces the brain to retrieve information from memory without looking at the source text, for example, using flashcards, writing summary sheets from memory, or completing practice exam questions under timed conditions. Spaced repetition complements this by systematically re-exposing the brain to information at expanding time intervals, such as reviewing a topic one day after learning, then 3 days later, then a week, and finally a month later. This deliberate spacing interrupts the natural neural forgetting curve, cementing information into long-term storage. Finally, no study plan is complete without integrating mandatory downtime. Academic performance is inextricably linked to sleep hygiene, physical exercise, and mental relaxation. Rest should never be viewed as an earned luxury or a reward for finishing a task. It must be treated as a non-negotiable structural component of learning itself. Without adequate sleep, the hippocampus cannot consolidate short-term memories into permanent neural networks. Protect your rest as fiercely as you protect your study hours, and your academic efficiency will skyrocket. Thank you for your time.
That's the end of Section 4. You may now take some time to review your answers.